Hi, you have clicked on the video to figure out how to put a graph onto your speed lab report. This will be very easy, but you need a couple of things before we begin. You will need to have logged on to your Google Classroom and opened up the speed lab report. Once you have the speed lab report there, we also need the data table from the launch. Now, in the data table on the launch, you will see that I have time, my first object, second object, and then here you will have the time that it took this first object to travel this distance that the first object traveled. Then you will also need the second object, the distance that it traveled, along with the time that it took it to travel that. Notice that there are two blank spaces here, and that's okay. We don't need to fill those blank spaces before we begin. So back to the lab report. In order to create a graph, you will need a Google spreadsheet first. So what we need is we need to press File, we need to press New, and we need to press Spreadsheet. Once you press Spreadsheet, there should be a new Google spreadsheet open for you. All we're going to do is to copy and paste, or in your case, just type in the data table from your launch. Now, go ahead and pause this video and plug in the numbers that you had from the launch. I'm going to copy and paste it here. Great. You have the data table from the launch filled in here, and you're ready to make a graph. In order to make a graph on Google Spreadsheet, you will first need to highlight the numbers along with the headings that you want Google Spreadsheet to graph. So that means time, basketball, football, and all of the numbers here are highlighted. Once you have done that, we can go to Insert, Chart. Once you get there, you should already see a sample of a chart that doesn't look exactly like what we want, but we can change that. All we have to do is to choose the type of chart that we want by going to Charts in the middle here. For the purpose of this lab, we are going to plot a scatter chart. And once you press scatter, there will be two options. We're going to press the first one. Great. And you need to press insert. Great. You have the beginnings of a good graph for your lab. Notice though that there's no title, there's no axis title, and there's no line here. It's going to be a very easy fix. All you got to do is to press the upper right hand corner right there and go to edit. Now we're going to have to do a couple of edits, mainly first the chart title and the axis title. The chart title is right over here to the top where it says chart title. For the purpose of this lab, we're going to put position time graph. And when you press enter, you will see that position time graph is showing up as the title. Now we have to label the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. We're going to scroll down until you see axis. Once you get to axis, you will see that horizontal is the original place. All we have to do now is to change the horizontal axis title to what we need. And in this case, we need it to be time in seconds. Once you press enter, you will see that time in seconds is now the x-axis title. Now we need the y-axis title, which you will have to go back to axis and press on horizontal until you can see left vertical. Press on left vertical and now change the title of that axis to distance in meters. Great. Now you have both axis titled, you have the graph titled, you have all the numbers over here. Now all we need to do is to add 2 lines. This is very easy. Go ahead and continue scrolling down until you see series. That is the very bottom of this. We're going to do the first object first. We're going to add a trend line. So for the trend line, you're going to have to put linear. And notice over here that now we have a trend line, but we also have added this title over here. We do not want that title. So go ahead and continue scrolling down. And we're going to change the label to none. That way you don't have another label over here. Great. Now we only have 1 line. We're going to have to add a second one by going back to series, pressing on the first object, and then going to the second object. Now we do the same thing and add the trend line as a linear trend line and changing the label from custom to none. And that's it. All you got to do is press update, and now you have a beautiful position time graph ready for your lab report. All that's left to do is to copy this by pressing on the graph, going back to that upper right hand corner and saying copy chart. Once you have pressed on copy chart, you can then go back to your speed lab report, scroll down to the results section where it says position time graph, click on it, right click on it, and press paste. And voila, you have a beautiful position time graph with the title, y-axis, x-axis, and the 2 graphs. You can see here that the blue line is steeper than the red line, meaning it has a higher slope, which also means that it has a higher speed, which you will talk about that in the discussion below. Okay.